feeling that length upward through the crown of your head, letting your shoulders release nice and wide and open. Add a little bit of movement to our breath. So start to circle a little bit with your torso, exhaling as you come forward, inhaling when you come back, keeping your spine as long as you can. So you're really actually thinking of the spine being lengthened and the circles just happen with that nice long torso there. And your breath leads you. Exhales bring you forward. Inhales circle you back. Let it feel easy. And we are going to stop and go the other direction. So that depends on you where you stop, and then start to reverse directions. Yourself gradually make your way back up to sitting nice and tall. So take your time, stop where you want to be able to just come on back up, releasing your hands out onto the floor lightly beside you. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead, and exhale, bring our hands right down through the midline to be in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline, and on the exhale open the arms on back out and down. And let's take a nice inhale here, and on the exhale, twisting to your right. I'm going to go ahead and mirror you today, just so you know and I don't confuse you more. So let yourself lengthen up, feel length in the back of your neck and your throat. And then see if you can inhale that right arm all the way up overhead here. So you're coming into really lengthening through that right side of the body. And then just lean a little bit towards your left thigh, towards your left leg, just a little bit so you come into a side stretch. Breathing into that right side. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up. We're going to lower that arm on down, all the way back down, fingertips to the floor, inhaling here. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center. We're going to keep on going all the way into the other direction with that twist. So find your twist here. Feel your sitting bones in the ground. Feel your pelvic floor lifting up. And then we'll inhale that back left arm all the way up overhead. Again, find that stretch through the side before you even lean over. And then when you're ready, let yourself find a little bit more by coming out over towards that right thigh. Breathing into the left ribs. And then we'll rise back up to the top. We're going to lower the left hand down. Again, you can increase your twist a little if you want here. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you on back into center. Let's flex our feet. If we're cross-legged, feel the outside edges of your feet into the floor. Let's come on forward. You know, your hands can be right up there by your legs so that you don't come very far. You can walk further out if you choose. Just be really mindful of your own back. And take your time. You can let your head hang if it feels okay to do that. Some of you might like to fold farther over your legs. That is totally up to you. Just be mindful of your own back. Once you come forward from the low back, then you know it might feel pretty good to allow the head to hang and release. And come to your breath. Good. One more breath here. And we're going to slowly walk ourselves on back up from here. And we're going to switch the cross of our legs if you're cross-legged. You might want to stretch your legs out, kind of wiggle them around a little bit before you come into the other leg in front. And otherwise, keep your legs long if you need. And again, let's come forward right away here into that seated forward bend. So if you're cross-legged, feel the outside edges of your feet gently coming into the floor. ease your way forward. Again, pay attention to how your back feels. And again, if you feel like you want to go ahead and fold over, once you get pretty far forward, go right ahead. And then be with your breath. Good, and now come up enough so that you're up a little bit higher and you can walk over towards your right thigh. So you come out over that right thigh and extend your torso out a little bit. Draw your left sitting bone back a bit. Feel a little more there in that side of your low back and into your hip. And then we'll walk back through center and we're going to go the other side. So again, as you come over to the left, draw the right sitting bone back a little bit. Feel that little bit of extra there on the top of the right hip. And then we'll walk back into center with our hands again. And let's head our way back up to sitting. Let yourself release your hands on out beside you. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. Let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our chest. And now, keeping your hands together, we're going to circle. And what you think about doing really is just very gently keeping your hands connected. So when the backs of the hands come towards each other, you don't want to press. You just kind of feel that connection and you wake up your wrists a little bit here. Wake up the hands a little bit more. Let yourself just enjoy coming into feeling each finger and your thumbs and your hands in general and your wrists. And when you stop, you're going to reverse direction of those circles. So letting yourself just reverse. And again, just enjoy feeling that gentle connection in your hands. Feel the wrist kind of getting oiled up a little bit there. Finish off with your hands right there into your chest. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Find your seated mountain there. Close your eyes gently. Just be with your breath. Find as much space as you can in your spine, right? And then we'll release to let our arms come on down, shake out a little bit, and let's head towards our hands and knees. You know, if you don't want to be on your hands and knees, don't be. Get a blanket to put under your knees if you want to. If you need something for your wrist, come to fist if that feels better. You know, so if you feel better to be on your fist, or even put a blanket underneath the palms of your hands when you have your hands flat new. And then from here, just let yourself kind of wag your tail a little bit. So as your tail comes to the left, look back over your left shoulder a little bit. And the same thing when you go right. So you're just very easily kind of shifting a little bit, looking back behind yourself. And release your neck and let your chin, if it feels good, come in towards your shoulder when you look back there. Find some release in your neck too. And then come on back into neutral. Let's send our right foot behind us on the floor. Curl our toes under. And press into the inner heel back there. Zip up your low belly. And feel your hands equal on the floor there. And we're just going to switch legs. So we'll bring the left foot back, curl the toes under, press into the heel, and then zip up your belly. Good. We're going to switch again to send the right foot back. Again, press into the heel for a second. Feel your calf, the back of your leg fully. And then float the leg up more parallel to the floor with the toes facing down. And if you decide to add the left arm forward, you can, coming into a balance there. One more breath. And then we'll bring the hand and the knee back down. And we're going to switch. Put the left foot back behind us at first. Again, feel that back of the leg opening up. Once you float the leg up more parallel to the floor, totally up to you if you want to add the right arm forward into a balance or keep your hand down. Good, and then we'll come on back down with our hand and our knee, and let's move through some cat-cows here, and let it just feel like the most natural thing in the world, right? Let your tailbone initiate, and roll through the spine here, very easily. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. Come back to your more neutral spine. And let's look to the left and let our left arm float up parallel to the floor, straight out from our shoulders, okay? And then start to just reach up towards the ceiling as much as you can. You don't have to do it too much. And then we're going to thread the needle with that left arm, coming on down onto the left side of our head. And you can leave your right hand right there with the elbow bent in front of your face, or you can reach it forward overhead if that feels even better in your shoulders. So find the best spot for you. And then just breathe into between the shoulder blades on your back. Good. We'll bring the right hand back by our face if it's not already, and we're going to come on back up to all fours. And now we're going to look to the right and bring the right arm out from our shoulder. And then again, you decide, do you want to go higher and higher and higher? Not necessary. And then we're going to thread the needle with that right arm, coming on down and through. And again, wherever you want this left hand to be, right? It can stretch. You can stretch your arm overhead like you're a dog, or you can let your hand stay more by your face. You can bend the elbow and be really relaxed there. If that feels better, to put the elbow towards the ground. You know, there are lots of ways. Just enjoy one more breath. And then let the left hand come by your face so you can press your way on up. And let's just shift forward like we're coming into a half plank. See if you can lift your knees up. And here you are on the flesh above your knees. And you can bend your elbows if you want. Let yourself do a little bit of a push-up there. And then we're going to shift back to child's pose. Reaching back. Let your big toes come towards each other. Knees as far apart as you want. Releasing however far back you want with your hips. You know that. You can stay more forward on your forearms. So if it's too much to shift the hips back onto the heels, do not do it. Your knees will tell you, obviously, when to stop. One more breath here. Good. And then we're going to come on back up. We're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back. If you want your blocks for your lunge, you can grab them for under your hand. And we're going to come on up into our first lunge here. So take your time. Get yourself established there in your lunge. Remember, just be really mindful of the alignment of that front knee. Make sure it's not bending any farther forward than your ankle. And feel your feet in the floor. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Good. And we're going to switch legs. Does not matter how you do that. So coming to the other side. And again, letting yourself kind of feel like your feet are on those narrow railroad tracks so you feel good in your hips in a lunge, right? And then focus, if you can, on the length of the whole body here. Feel your back body lengthening out. Feel the back of your head in line with your spine. Good. We're going to switch again to bring that left foot forward. So again, take your time here now. Feel the feet starting to press away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. So you feel a little more into your hips. See if you can float your left heel up briefly off the floor. And then bring that left heel back down, and we're going to switch legs again. So again, really getting mindful in your lunge here. Feeling your whole body in the pose, drawing your your shoulders down away from your ears. And then press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer. Enjoy. Zip up that belly. Oh, it's such a great pose. So simple. We're going to step forward and come on into standing forward bend. So everybody is different for this pose. Be mindful. If you need support, use it. Hands on the blocks. Elbows above your knees with them bent if that feels even better for your back. Or you're more than welcome to go ahead and fold over your legs if that feels good to you. Letting the top of the head release down more towards the ground. But be mindful. Feel your feet in the floor. In fact, bring your awareness to your feet and just make sure you're not rolling to the inside to the outside of your feet. Feel the weight of your head. You might even want to move your head a little bit, nod or shake your head a little bit if that helps. And then feel your sitting bones over your heels, so you don't want your hips to shift back behind you. One more full deep breath here. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise straight on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So adjust into your mountain. And that means anything you need to do, right? So if you need to do anything to get your feet the right distance apart, looking at them, and letting your hands gently come in towards your chest. Remember, there's no right or wrong place for your thumbs to come to kind of plug in towards the breastbone. So find what feels good to you, the height of where you feel really good to have your hands there in front of your chest. And sometimes it's fun to vary it. If you have a habit of a little higher or a little lower, maybe change it, see how it feels. Feel your gaze coming on forward and out now, and whether you like your eyes open or closed. Enjoy here, starting from the ground up. Feel your feet in the floor. Imagine you're pressing your feet down into the ground like you're pushing it away from you. And then gently draw upward with your thighs. Make sure, you don't want to lock your knees, but you do want to feel that engagement in your legs. And once the pelvis is aligned with the tailbone dropping down towards between your heels, it just feels totally natural for the hips to come over your ankles and the shoulders over your hips. Let yourself feel nice and released through your face and your jaw. And then as we unfold our arms down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to bend our knees, come on forward into our standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. Lengthen out wherever you want your hands to go. We'll step our right foot back to come into lunge, heading into our first sun salutation. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time as you get into dog. So first dog, adjust as you need, walk if you want, bend both your knees if that feels better. Just let your body kind of take over to do what you need to do to adjust into dog pretty easily. Feel your elbows softly hugging inward, so you feel your shoulders in that really good place. Let your next inhale bring you on out to plank. So coming into plank here, really nice and strong. Engage your belly. You're welcome to put your knees down. You're welcome to come to your forearms if your wrists bother you. And then we are going to lower down now. If you want to put your knees before you come down, do a half push-up down to the ground, And let's come into Sphinx on our forearms with our elbows under our shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Feel your hands on the floor. And then look at your hands. Look there right between your hands on the ground so that you're not tensing up the neck by lifting your chin up, right? One more breath here. And then we'll lower down, slide our hands back by our chest. We're going to come on back to down dog. Now you can come through a half or a full push-up, or you can come back to your hands and knees and back to your down dog. And we will step our right foot forward to come into lunge here, and you can put your left knee down if you need to get there. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And just release here, whatever feels good. You know that. Support if you need. Hold your elbows if you like. Release your hands to wherever's comfortable. Remember, feeling those sitting bones over the heels as best you can. And it's fine to have your knees bent, remember, in your forward bend. Even if your knees are bent, you're going to get open in the back of your legs in a standing forward bend. Just from the weight of your torso being forward. Let the pose do it all. Just be with your breath. And now, see if you can lift your toes up. Bring your hands to your hips. Press into your feet. Keep your toes up as you rise up to standing, which is a little different feeling. Keep them up as you inhale your arms up overhead. And when your hands come down, let your toes come down too as you lengthen up through the top of your head. And we'll release our arms back down beside us. We're going to clasp them behind us this time. And see if you can, instead of like curling your fingers in, keep your fingers straight when they're interlaced, right? So you're just, interlacing the fingers, kind of locking your fingers together. And see if your hands will come off your back just a little bit there. And it's almost like you're trying to pull your hands apart. right? So you're kind of locked in your fingers, but you're kind of pulling. One more breath, keep pulling. Now when you kind of let go of that lock, it feels great to let the arms float on up overhead. And then as you exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that nice flat long back. Doesn't matter where you put your hands. This time left foot steps back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Good. Walk a little bit in your dog. Let yourself turn your head a little side to side if you can, so you release your neck too. Come on back to your full dog, and on the inhale, we'll come out to plank. And we're going to lower down again. So if you need, put your knees down. You can go through a full push-up down if you want. And let's come onto our fingertips, right? Your head's still down. Fingertips only on the floor. Hug your elbows in and down towards your waist a little bit, and then lift your head up. And there you are in a little cobra. See if your hands can float up. So you're really using your back. And then bring your hands back down. Now some of you might want to keep pressing into your hands and rise up higher into cobra. That's up to you. You don't need to. You can keep your elbows a little bit, hugging in towards your ribs, even if you're all the way up. And then we're going to release and come back down. And we're going to make our way back to down dog from here, whether you come through a half or a full push-up, or back to your hands and knees and back to dog. And this time we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. Go right to your breaths, wherever you want your hands to go to. Full deep breaths now. Now focus on the ribs expanding as you inhale. See if you can imagine the top of the head just getting closer to the ground when you exhale. And let go of your jaw and your face. Nice, and then we'll bend our knees and press into our feet as we rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right on up through the midline. As we exhale, fold forward, but stay parallel to the floor with your spine and your arms out like airplane wings. Straight out from your shoulders. Knees are bent. Reach back through your tailbone, forward and out through the crown of your head. And then bring your hands together in front of your heart into prayer hands here. Let's twist to our right. Let your left elbow maybe come towards your right knee. If you're not down that low, stay up higher. That's fine. You can still twist. And then come back into center. And we're going to go to the other side. So bringing that right elbow over. If it comes to the knee, fine. If you're up higher, that's fine too. And then we'll come on back into center again. One more breath. And as you exhale, fold on forward. Let's inhale into a nice long back. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. We're going to move with our breath here. Inhale. Exhale into downward facing dog pose. Let your next inhale bring you to your plank. And let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. How high? And exhale back to your down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to your lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top with your breath. And let your exhale carry you forward. Inhale into that nice long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale carry you to your plank. The exhale will be what lowers us. And we'll inhale into our cobra of choice. And exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising again all the way to the top. And let your exhale again bring you forward. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands. You can walk, you can jump. Come into down dog. Ease your way into however you need to move. Take your time, let it feel good. Nice. And then from here, let's bring our left foot forward. have your blocks handy. We're coming up to warrior one. So get yourself situated as you come up where the blocks are handy in case you want them. Align that back heel to that sense of really getting the right angle for your right foot back there. Feeling your shoulders around square and zipping up your belly. Your hips might or might not be square depending on the length of your warrior one, right? So here we are. Let your arms come on down. And just for fun, we're going to inhale our right arm all the way out and up overhead. So you find length in the right side of your body, right? Now, it's going to be little, but we're going to go a little to the left for a side stretch. And it's really kind of hard to do in your warrior pose. So let yourself feel a stretch all the way down to the side waist if you can. It's not a big movement. And now come on back up to the top. We're going to circle that arm behind us and let it release on down and stay. And then we're going to bring the left arm up. And now we're going to go a little to the other side, which is almost harder, right? So you're leaning a little to the right. It's not much. Reach up through the fingertips. Feel your feet in the floor. And then come on back up again and circle that arm around on behind you. And let's do both arms up overhead. We're going to make one big circle and bring the arms back behind us as far as we can. And then as you inhale the arms up, now you do what you want here in your warrior one arms. If you like to clasp your hands, send your pointer finger up, hug your elbows in too. If you know your shoulders feel better to keep your hands apart, do that. So be where you can. Let yourself enjoy feeling that lift at the base of the shoulder blades. Feel your feet equal in the floor. So imagine your inhale rising up the front of the body, going over the top, and your exhale coming down the back. One more breath. And then let your gaze come forward. Let your hands come right down to be back in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And we're going to unfold our arms and we're going to turn sideways so that we face the long edge of our mats. Widen your feet for a wide-legged forward bend. And as you come forward, if you like your blocks, grab your blocks so that you have your hands either on blocks or the floor. And go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Start to adjust into your pose so that when you start to do this, and you know if it bothers your knees, don't do it. But as you do a little bit of this, it kind of gives you a little idea of how far apart you want your feet, right? And then come on back into center and take your time here. You are more than welcome, and you know this, to set up in this pose with blocks under your hands or your forearms. So if you know that it's better for you to be up, you can use blocks for your forearms or your hands or your head. And some of you may, I know, like to bring your hands back more towards between your feet and let yourself release there. You know, the traditional pose, or even hold your ankles if that feels good. So just be with your breath, accepting your breaths now, in and out. Imagine your inner thighs are melting their way behind you. Feel that fullness of the breath as the inhales come in to expand your ribs in all directions. You know too, if you're familiar with Ujjayi breathing, feeling the breath coming through the throat, you are more than welcome anytime to come into your Ujjayi breaths. One more breath here. And from here, we're going to walk our hands on back out because we are going to walk back to our left foot to come back into lunge here. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Now, once you're in your dog, let yourself come on out to plank. If you can walk a little bit in the plank, bend a knee at a time, do. But just let the toes stay curled under if you can. And let yourself really find that strength in the core of the body here. And obviously, you know, you're feeling your arms, your shoulders. Finish off that one, and then let's lower down however you choose. Knees first if you need. And let's come on into either an up dog or if you prefer a cobra. So if you want to keep the tops of your toes on the floor for your up dog, you can. Or you can have your toes curled under in up dog. And then we're going to release and come on back down. We're going to shift back towards pose of a child. So let yourself release back to where you can. Once you're there, walk your hands over to the right side. Breathe into the left side of the body a little bit. And then walk back through center and walk over to the left. Good. And then walk back into center again. One more breath here. And as you inhale, come on back to all fours and then shift back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Walk a little bit if you need. And from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward, and we're coming up for that warrior one on the other side. So, you know, as you start to rise your way up to your warrior one and you square your shoulders around, just really be mindful of that back foot. You know, feel that great openness here in the front of your left hip. Be really mindful. Let's let our hands come to our heart for a second. Feel very centered. Feel very squared off with your shoulders. Good, and now we're going to release the arms down. Remember, we're going to try this inhaling the left arm up first, and we're going to come into that little reaching to the right side stretch. So really, it's very small. Feel the side waist. And then come back up to the top. Reach back with your arm behind you if you can. Circle it on back behind you. And then we're going to inhale the right arm up. And then again, as you come into that little side stretch, it's kind of hard to keep your balance, right? Depends on feeling the feet equal in the floor. And then we'll come on back up to the top. We're going to, again, reach behind ourselves with that arm if we can. And now we're going to try that one big circle, both arms circling up overhead, reaching back behind us. And then this time, once the arms come up, you find where you like to be in your warrior one. So if you like to clasp your hands, do. If you feel better with your hands apart. If your hands are apart, turn your pinkies a little towards each other. Feel the shoulders down away from your ears. Let yourself enjoy feeling that lift through the front of the body. Beautiful. One more breath. And then bring your gaze forward. Let your hands come back to be in front of your heart. And we'll unfold our arms. We're going to turn sideways again for the long edge of the mat. And go ahead and bend your knees. Grab your block if you want. Have your hands on the floor if you'd rather. Once you get there, though, turn your toes out. So like a goddess legs, right? And then bend one knee at a time there. So you come a little more into very different feeling for your hamstrings there. Now, I know a lot of you like to go really low in this. If you like to bend your right knee, you can have your hands there to give you support. Lift your left foot up to its heel and shift your hips down. And nobody needs to do this, you know. And don't do it if it bothers you. You can go to the other side. If you like doing these, use support. You can kind of put your hand behind you to give you support if you want. Good. And then come on, everybody come back to center. You're still turned out a little. Bend both your knees. So it's like you're a goddess with your body forward, right? I actually like to use a block on this one myself, but you can have your hands on the floor. Good. And then straighten the legs up a little so you can turn your toes forward. And then press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Feel how your inner thighs want to melt their way behind you. And you are more than welcome to set up however you want. So if you like to send your hands between your feet, hug your elbows towards each other, draw your shoulders away from your ears, you can. You can also put a block underneath your hands or your forearms. Some of you might even want to turn your hands backwards and walk your fingers way back behind you on the floor if that feels good. So just nice full breaths. Wherever you end up, right? Let yourself stay there and be with your breath. One more full, complete, deep breath. And we are going to walk ourselves back out. So we can walk back to the right foot again for lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose.
Good. Kind of be on your own now. If you want to do some vinyasas or kriyas, you can. You can come out to a plank. You can move through to a back bend without going through chaturanga if you'd rather, so that you go straight from your down dog right through to your up dog. Or you can go ahead and go through chaturanga. Lower yourself down. Come back up into your up dog. Or you don't need to do any of that. You can put your knees down and do child's pose and be really happy. So just be mindful. Let yourself move the way you need. Good. And finish off the one you're on. Come on back into your down dog. And this time we'll bring our left foot forward and we're coming up for warrior two. So you do want to have your blocks handy at the front of your mat for this one, just in case. Line the heels up. Bend into that left knee there. Find your alignment. You know, if you need to lift that left heel up to get that knee really aligned over the center of the foot, do. And then once you lower the heel on down, let's bring our arms up, turn our palms up, melt our elbows down. Look at your left palm there. And then actually just bring your hands into loose fists, like really curl your fingers in for a second. And then let your hands circle around like that, just real easily, both ways. You just stop and go the other way when you want. Good, and then start to reach out and let the hands open now so the palms are facing down into your traditional warrior two arms. Feel like you're reaching equally. Remember, back through the right fingertips, forward through the left. Feel energy through your hands. Good. We're going to bring our right hand on down to our right hip, straighten our left leg out for triangle. Bringing your left hand down, and you know you can put it on your leg. I like a block. I like to use a block either in front of or behind my left leg. Feeling the torso extend out over that front leg. Let yourself bring your right hand either to your hip or feel free to stretch it straight up overhead. So be mindful. Extend that torso out. Feel that length through the top of your head. Some of you may even decide you want to look down to release your neck towards your left foot on the floor there, or even up towards your right hand up there if that feels really good. One more breath here. And now turn to look down at your left foot. And we're going to come into lunge here. So you may decide to use your blocks under your hands if you like, or you can bring your hands to the floor, reaching back now through that right inner heel, so the heel's off the floor, reaching behind you. And we're going to add a twist. Left hand to our left hip, rolling that left shoulder up. If you'd rather do twisted prayer, feel free. Go ahead and bring your right elbow to your left knee. You know, if you'd like to stretch your left arm up in your twist, do. Good. One more breath. And then bring your hand on back down. And now we're going to lower that back knee to the mat. And we're going to shift our hips back. And if you need a blanket under your knee, go ahead, grab it, right? Shift your hips back, and you're coming out over that front left leg there. And it's long, and the toes are up off the floor. You're on just your heel. And you're going to let yourself just fold a little bit over that leg, just to wake up your hamstring a little bit more. Good. So one more breath here. And now shift your way back forward. Lift the back knee up. Come on back into your lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose from here. Once you're in dog, walk a little bit, wag your tail around, and then let your feet come a little closer together. Lift your left leg up in the air behind you into three-legged dog. And then bend your left knee and kind of open the hip like you're stacking your left hip on top of your right. You can look under your left arm if you want. And then turn the knee back down, straighten the leg back, put the foot back on the floor. We're going to go to the right leg up, and then we'll bend the knee, and we're going to stack that right hip on top of the left, opening that hip. Again, you can look under your right arm if you want. And then turn the knee back down, straighten the leg back, put a foot back on the floor, and you're on your own. You can come out for vinyasas or kriyas if you want to, totally optional. You all know that. You can stay in dog, and you can put your knees down and go into a child's pose. Totally optional, whether you want to do any kind of vinyasas or kriyas or not. Good. And then finish off. We're going to meet back in down dog again. And this time we're going to bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two. So be mindful, line those heels up. Let yourself, again, have your blocks if you like them for triangle, and get those heels aligned. And again, if you find kind of like, well, I'm not sure about this front knee, lift your knee up. That'll make you a little more sure. Lift your heel up. That'll make you a little more sure of the alignment of your knee. And then go ahead and lower the knee down. We're going to float our arms up, turn our palms up, let our elbows melt down. Feel your shoulders melt down too, right? And then just curl your hands in a little to those loose fists, not tight. Don't think strength, think softness, right? And then let the hands circle around a little bit so you feel your wrist. You can stop and go the other way whenever you want. Just let it feel good. And then start to reach out and really let those hands open now. Feel your palms facing down. Feel your feet gently pressing away from each other so you're finding that strength and power of your warrior two. Beautiful. And then we'll bring our left hand down onto our left hip. We're going to straighten our right knee out. And we're going to bring our right hand down for triangle. So, you can be up on your leg. You don't have to go low. You can let your hand come down to, I like block myself, in front of or behind my foot. Feel your thighs lifting up, left shoulder draws up. If you want to add that left arm up, straight up from your shoulder, you can. Nice. Extending that torso out over the leg. And, if your neck bothers you, try looking down at your right foot. Or, you can try to look up towards your hand up there. If you're looking up towards the ceiling, sometimes that can feel really releasing as well. One more breath. Good. We're going to come into lunge. So you're going to bring your left hand down and maybe a block. Turn that right heel again to where you're reaching into your lunge. And we're going to lower the back knee again. If you need that blanket, do. We're going to shift back with our hips and extend our torso out over that front leg. So let it feel good. Just let yourself enjoy. As you feel the heel on the ground, the right heel is drawing back towards your sitting bone, so you are so engaged in that leg, both the front and the back. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to come forward again to come to lunge, lifting the back knee up, and we're going to make our way back into down dog. And these are our last vinyasas or kriyas. So if you want to do any more, now's the time. You can let yourself rest in down dog. If dog feels like a resting pose, you can come through for up dogs, whether you go through chaturanga or not. So remember vinyasas or kriyas or putting your knees down and resting. Good. Let's finish off to meet back. And if you're doing something that's two-sided, make sure you do the other side too. And then meet back in down dog. Good. And let's separate our feet on the mat from here, towards the outside edges. Walk your hands on back. Now you can end up with your elbows above your knees so that you have your squat there. Or, you can send your hands between your feet and around to the outside of your ankles or behind your feet and squat down like that if you like to squat that way. Or you can bring yourself into feet a little bit less wide, maybe turning your heels in and bringing your hands into prayer. So find your squat. Stay with your elbows above your knees if you need. Don't force anything. Let it feel like the best release for your low back and for your hips. I know some of you like to practice coming into your crow pose here. So if you like to do that, go right ahead. More power to you, right? So take your time. Just be mindful if you're in your squat to let yourself release through the low back and the hips. Try and firefly, are we?
I forgot.
Bring your hands back. I can't do it anymore. You bring your legs forward.
What was the other thing we were supposed to do?
Well, this is crow.
Okay. That's
Where
what
your
I'm like,
arms
what
are
am I
in
supposed
front.
to do?
You were doing a harder pose.
Okay.
All right, so everybody is ready to come up maybe. So take your time. Let your feet get underneath you so that you can come into your forward bend very comfortably. Use support if you need. And then when you're ready to rise up, press down into your feet. Let yourself float on up and inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on your exhale, as your hands come down, think about reaching higher up through the top of your head. Like your head is nearly floating to the ceiling. Which is pretty, if you just imagine that, it's pretty lightening, right? So just enjoy. Feel your mountain pose here. Let yourself feel grounded, but at the same time, light. And imagine the air around you is supporting you, so it's almost like you've become part of the space around you. It really is the most awesome pose, isn't it? We're going to unfold our arms on down beside us and shake out a little bit, move around. And we're going to get our mats into a wall, because we have room today. So, you can turn and go that way, Bessie. Ellen, do you want to come over here?
Oh, sure. I don't want to ruin the picture, you know what I
Well,
mean?
it's okay.
You know, I just won't look at myself later on. I don't like it.
Well, just don't look.
I won't. I will not look. I
The
will
best
not look.
way to not see is to not
It's
look.
to not look. That's what I'm gonna do.
So,
Here's my,
yeah, just bring everything. We're going to stay. So what we're going to need first is our blocks. So, take your time and let yourself get your blocks in your hands. And, you know, for the Warrior 3, we haven't been able to do it in a while with our back foot to the wall. If we put our right foot back to the wall and we get ourselves looking back at our toes and make sure we don't have that foot up high where you can't see it, you need to be able to look back and see your foot, your heels directly back from your sitting bone, and your toes are facing directly down. And this is just fun. I mean, just staying here like this. You don't have to lift up, right? You can go up to your fingertips if you want, or your fists. You can think about bringing your hands up to your heart from your blocks, or not, right? If you do that first, maybe it's a little bit easier. You can stretch your arms forward if you want. And then, let your hands come back down and see about just bringing your left hand up onto your hip or your low back if you can, palm down, and rotating that shoulder up so you're twisting. And you're really feeling that foot in the wall back there, lengthening out through the crown of your head. Feel free to lift that left arm up if you want. Man, that is a very intense shoulder, though. Lifting the arm up is. Good. And let yourself turn to look back at the floor. Bring your hand on back down. We're going to right away put that right foot down, put the left foot up before you even think about it, because that's the biggest relief. And again, look at your toes so you make sure you've got yourself aligned. Good. Nice, everybody. And then again, just play a little bit. Maybe you want to come up higher to your fingertips. Maybe you want to think about bringing both hands up off the blocks, right? Or not. Or bring the arms forward. I know a lot of you are really able to do the arms reaching forward. Good. And then let your hands come back down again. And we'll add that little twist if we can. Right hand on up to the right hip. If you can put your palm down on your sacrum and roll that shoulder up, reach into that foot back there on the wall, lengthen out through the top of your head. Beautiful. Nice. So if you like to stretch the arm up, do. More power to you. It is very intense in the shoulders to do that. And then go ahead and bring your hand back down. And we're going to come on back down with that foot. Shift your way back to the wall with your feet and come on down into child's pose. So, you know, you can let yourself stay kind of forward to your forearms if you need to. Release the best you can for you. Take your time, breathe into your low back. You can keep your arms soft overhead or bring them back alongside your legs. Whatever feels like the best release for you in your pose of a child. Breathe into the low back. Feel the pelvis expanding on your breath as you inhale. Good. So one more breath here. And then, let's come on forward, onto our forearms. Now, let yourself get your elbows under your shoulders. If you know for dolphin you like to clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out, you can. If you'd rather separate your hands and have your forearms parallel to each other, you can as well. And then when you think about lifting your heels up the wall and shifting your way back, pressing into your forearms, remember, you want your head to hang. You do not want any weight in your head at all. It's not on the floor. It's not anywhere where you're going to feel any weight in it. And you can hug your elbows towards each other. Imagine your heart melting towards the wall. And everybody in here who's been here a long time knows this is your playtime. So if you'd like to lift a leg up the wall, you're more than welcome to do a leg at a time. You're welcome to do both legs. If you feel like you want to practice a forearm stand, you're more than welcome to do that. So just be mindful. And take your time and stop whenever you want to. And remember, when you rest the way you like. You can rest in child's pose, or maybe you feel like you want to get your head above your heart. So sometimes after an inversion, it feels better to get up to have your head above your heart. Sometimes it feels better to stay in your child's pose. So play. You can always go up 2 or 3 times too if you want to. I'll tell you when we're getting close to moving on, so play the way you choose. Want to go up one more time, let it be about now so that you have time to be there for a little bit. Good. And now, as we come on down, make our way towards a pigeon pose. Now I know the pigeon is not good for everybody's knees and hips. If you're able to bring your left knee forward towards the left front corner of your mat and have your right leg behind you, that's great. But if your knee or your hip tell you not to do it, don't do it. Lay on your back and do a figure 4. The other thing I love to do is have my blanket underneath my bent leg side, right? So I've got my left knee forward. I'm going to slip a blanket underneath my hip so that I stay pretty level. Even when I put my hands on the floor and I lift up and I'm really rolled, I'm looking back to this right foot. Make sure it's directly behind your leg. And yeah, just do your figure 4 on your back. And press into the tops of your toes there. Right. So if you're up here, there's a back bend going on, right? But there's also a huge opening for the front of your right hip. So be on the top of your toes if you can. And then let yourself release on forward. And you can put a blanket underneath your left side with help. Betsy, do you have one there? Try putting that under your left hip here. Yeah, so that you're rolling to the top of your right toes instead of being on the, there you go. And then take your time. You're more than welcome to let yourself just make a pillow with your hands, stay on your forehead, use a block if you want. So you're releasing through the front of that right hip. You're also feeling it deeply in your left hip. Good. Now if you can, come up to your forearms. So you're up on your forearms, like you're doing a Sphinx pose kind of, right? Although you don't have to have your hands anyway. And then bend that right knee. So when you do, man, that's pretty deep into the outer left hip. You know, it might be enough right there. You don't have to do any more. I know some of you really like to put your hands on the floor and come up, which is even deeper in the front of that right hip. Or reach back with your right hand and get hold of your right foot. And I mean, you can kind of press the foot into your hand a little bit, even think of lifting your left arm forward, especially if you have a blanket there. The blanket really helps. And then we're going to release and come on back down. And we're going to switch sides. So whatever you need to do. If you like to do dog between sides, by all means do a down dog. If you like to come into child's pose, if you need to shift your blanket so that you have it under your other hip when you bring your right knee forward, then you can do that. So you feel comfortable and kind of even in your hips. And at first, again, if you can stay up on your hands so that you really feel that openness, press into the top of your left toes and feel how open you are in the front of that hip flexor. Oh, it's awesome. One more breath. And now when you start to ease your way forward, take your time. Again, you can use a block under your forearms or under your head. You can let yourself come down to your forearms. You can put your head down to your hands or the floor. Let it feel really good. You can engage a little bit too. Pressing into the top of the left toes is one way to do that. Or you can even imagine you're trying to hug your thighs in towards the midline and towards each other. Or you can imagine you're trying to stretch your mat longer with your thighs, which is kind of an interesting feeling as well. Or then you can just kind of let yourself just gently feel that top of the foot into the floor. And even feel the right foot into the floor a little bit too. If you can come to your forearms, do. Again, this is optional. Staying right here is fine. If you can bend that left knee, and that's where you need to be right there. And if that's too intense, back out of it, right? And if you want more, you can walk up to your hands. And you can think about reaching back and holding onto your foot back there. Again, that is totally optional. No need to do that at all. And then we're going to release, let our foot come down, and let's just shift to our right hip and swing our legs on around in front of us. So you might need to get rid of your blanket. Let yourself, if you want to sit on a blanket, do. Bring your legs in front of you. Let yourself now just open up here through the chest, bringing your hands back, bringing your chest forward. Let your tailbone reach down so you're really into a back bend right here. And now see if you can, now don't do this if it hurts your shoulders, but if you can go onto your forearms like this behind you and bend your knees. If this bothers your shoulders, don't do it. Sometimes getting up on blocks is doable. And see if you can draw your knees in towards your chest, stretch your legs up. And see if you can lower them down. This is a variation of boat, and it doesn't take long to go, oh my, I'm not going any farther. You know, so you can stay here, let yourself just enjoy feeling. You're trying not to let your pelvis go cockeyed, right? You're not really reaching your tailbone down, but it's also not curling up. It's in its kind of natural alignment. It's actually really hard. So, and the lower you go, maybe the harder it gets, right? Oh my goodness. So, okay, those of you who are lowering your legs all the way, go for it, man. Not me. One more breath. Bend your knees, put your feet on the floor, come all the way down to your back. You might have to scoot away from the wall. Once you're there, bring your knees in towards your chest, send your feet up for a little happy baby. And you can roll around a little bit if you want to. Totally up to you, you know that. Let your happy baby be where you feel good to be. Whether you bring your hands to your feet or your ankles or around to the outside of your thighs, onto your thighs and back. And then bring your feet back to the floor. Your knees are bent again, and reach your hands up towards the ceiling. So your feet are just on the floor comfortably. Hands are reaching up, and then flex your hands. So now your palms are facing the ceiling, and your fingertips are facing the wall at your head. All right? And then bend your elbows and bring your hands right above your shoulders on the floor. And let yourself just imagine if you were going to push into your hands and lift up into a back bend. Oh, by all means, we're not doing that, you know. It's just kind of fun to think about sometimes pressing into your hands with them turned this way. Let yourself feel your elbows not hiking way out to the side, but they're kind of straight up towards the ceiling. And then release your arms down alongside you. And let's come on into bridge pose here. Whether you bend your elbows to 90 degrees and do that robot arms, or you like your arms long, press into your feet, rising on up into bridge. Roll your shoulders under. Take your time. If anybody needs to come down and readjust their feet, remember, you want your feet a little wider than you do in your mountain, but you still want your feet parallel. So whether you like to keep your arms long or clasp your hands underneath you in your bridge pose, or keep your elbows bent, or grab a block and come into supported bridge. Just be mindful. And if you're someone who loves to do back bends, after you've been in your bridge pose for a little bit, you might want to come down and then bring your hands back the way we had them and press on up. So just be mindful, take your time. Stay in supported bridge if you'd rather. By all means, just take your time to allow yourself to do what your body feels the best doing now. And remember, you've got all those heights on your blocks. So you can get up really high with blocks under you if that feels good. I don't like the single block turn to the highest height myself. I like to double the blocks up, but stack them their lowest heights and put two underneath me to be high. But you don't need to wait for me. When you need to come down out of your bridge pose, you come down whenever you're ready. Don't wait for me. Let your knees come in towards your chest. I'm going to start to walk around. When you come down, you may decide you want to choose a little twist for yourself. You may just want your feet to the floor going side to side. You may decide you want to curl up into a little ball. Or there may be something else entirely that your body wants to do. So that could be anything. I'm not going to tell you a pose to do. I'm going to start to walk around to get lights, and then I'm going to, when people are ready for Shavasana with a little support, I'm going to bring you anything you might need. So if you stretch out and you're like, oh, there's no way I can lie like this and be comfortable, tell me so that I can bring you a bolster or underneath your knees, perhaps. Remember, I have little bolsters, I have big bolsters. You're welcome to turn and lie with your legs up the wall, of course. You're right there by a wall. If you feel just a little bit not good in your back, let me know so that I can bring you a bolster to kind of change the alignment of your pelvis. Need anything on there? Good. So take your time. Just let yourself release down into the ground. Feel that firmness of the floor. So much easier to release with that firm ground underneath you. And just let yourself be with your own breath. Accepting your breaths in and out. Your breath will start to quiet down, which your body and your brain both respond to. All you need to do is just keep returning to your breath. Finding those little quiet places. Giving yourself time to benefit from all you just did, just by letting yourself completely and fully relax.
breaths start to refresh you. And when your fingers and toes start to feel a little bit like wiggling, kind of start with your extremities and move on into your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, however you need to move. So if you like to stretch, if you like to bring your knees in, take your time. And you know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side anytime if you're comfortable to do that. And you can stay on your side for a little bit. You know, if you're better to stay on your back, do that. Just be really easy. Let it feel like not too abrupt, like you're just kind of gradually making your way back into feeling physical again. Appreciating the ground underneath you. And when you do feel ready to rise up to sitting, really take it easy. Let your eyes stay closed if you can. Find a very comfortable and easy way to sit for your hips, whether you need to sit up on a blanket or a bolster, or let yourself stretch your legs out, or cross-legged, whatever feels good. And as your eyes are closed, once you're seated, lengthen up through the top of your head and come back to watching your breath, coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, allow your hands to gently come to meet there right in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you, that was wonderful.
Last Tuesday of July here.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe it.